Hi, students, let's get started with the subject Science, Chapter 11. Keeping Time with the Skies. It was Makar Sankranti, and Meera was in Ahmedabad for the Patang Mahotsav, the international kite festival. As she looked up at the sky filled with colorful kites, she noticed the moon shining during the daytime. She was surprised as she had always thought the moon appeared only at night. Also, the moon did not appear like a full circle, but that didn't surprise her as much. She knew its shape changed every night. Still, it got her thinking. She remembered learning that the moon is spherical and shines by reflecting sunlight. Then why isn't the whole moon visible every night? For a moment, she wondered if it was due to a lunar eclipse. But eclipses are rare and brief. So, what causes the moon's changing shape? 11.1 How does the moon's appearance change and why? Let us carefully watch the moon to understand how its appearance changes over a month. You may have done a similar activity earlier, but let us now do it in more detail. Begin this activity from the sunrise after a full moon day. That is when it is easiest to spot the moon in the sky. Activity 11.1 Let us explore 1. Spot the moon at sunrise in the western direction on the first day after the full moon. Make a table similar to table 11.1 in your notebook. Document the following. A. Date. When you saw the moon, at sunrise or sunset. Shade the corresponding circle with pencil to show the bright portion of the moon as shown in Fig. 11.1. Shading the dark portion of the moon. 3. From the second day onwards, also document the following. Is the size of bright portion of the moon increasing or decreasing from the previous day? Whether the moon appears closer to or farther from the sun in the sky than the day before. After about 15 days, you may not be able to see the moon at sunrise or sunset. For the next 15 days, carry out this activity at sunset. Table 11.1 Documenting changes in the moon's appearance. Analyze the data recorded by you in Table 11.1. Did the moon appear different each day? Was the moon visible on all days? Did the moon appear at the same position in the sky as on the previous day? One 1.1.1 Phases of the moon, Fig. 11.2 Waxing, Shukla Paksh, and waning period, Krishna Paksh, of the moon as viewed from the earth. You may have observed that the bright portion of the moon decreases from a full circle to a half circle in about a week, as shown in Fig. 11.2. The bright portion continues to shrink for another week until it is no longer visible. This 2-week period is called the waning period of the moon. Different names are given to the moon's visible shapes during this cycle. Fig. 11.2. Waxing, Shukla Paksh, and waning period, Krishna Paksh, of the moon as viewed from the earth. The day when the moon appears as a full bright circle is called the full moon day, or Purnima, and the day when it is not visible is called the new moon day, or Amavasya. After the new moon, its bright side grows to a half circle in about a week and to a full circle, full moon, in another week. The period when the bright part of the moon increases is called the waxing period. In India, the waning period of the moon is generally called the Krishna Paksh, while the waxing period is called the Shukla Paksh. The moon goes through a waning period followed by a waxing period in a cyclical manner as shown in Fig. 11.2. The cycle from one full moon to the next takes about a month. The changing shapes of the bright portion of the moon from one day to another, as seen from the earth, are called the phases of the moon. 1.1.2 Locating the moon. When you checked the moon at the same time on successive days, for example, at sunrise, did you see it in a different part of the sky? On a full moon day, the moon is nearly opposite the sun. When the sun rises in the east, the moon is almost setting in the west. On subsequent mornings at sunrise, as its bright part continues to decrease, the moon appears to move closer in the sky to the sun. When the bright part of the moon decreases to a half-circle shape, the moon is overhead at sunrise. A few days later, the crescent moon appears even closer to the sun. Knowing the phase of the moon and whether it is waxing or waning can thus help us find out where and when to look for the moon on any given day. A waxing moon is easiest to spot at sunset and a waning moon at sunrise. Because of these shifts, the moon always rises and sets at different times than the sun. A step further, many people believe the moon rises when the sun sets, but that is not always true. Look in a local newspaper or on the Positional Astronomy Center, India Meteorological Department website to find the moonrise time in your area. Check these times for several days in a row and you will see that the moon rises about 50 minutes later each day. Sometimes moonrise happens in the afternoon, around 2 o'clock to 4 p.m. So you can spot the moon in the eastern sky during daylight. You may need to wait about 30 minutes past the listed moonrise time for the moon to climb high enough for it to be seen. The time and position of moonrise changes from one day to the next. 1.1.3 Making sense of our observations. The shape of the moon itself does not change, only what we see changes. You may recall learning earlier that the moon does not emit light of its own, but shines because it reflects sunlight that falls on it. The half of the moon that faces the sun receives sunlight and becomes illuminated. Fig. 11.3. 11.3 Sunlight falling on the moon. The other half facing away from the sun does not receive sunlight and remains non-illuminated. The moon revolves around the earth and only one half of the moon always faces the earth. However, the portion of the moon facing the earth is not always its illuminated part. We can only see the illuminated portion of the moon from earth. Sometimes, the entire illuminated portion of the moon faces the earth, and at other times only a part of it. At such times, the illuminated portion of the moon that we see is not a full circle. On new moon day, we do not see the illuminated portion of the moon at all, as only the non-illuminated portion of the moon faces the earth. Therefore, the moon appears different on different days. Let us do an activity to understand how the illuminated portion of the moon, as seen by us, changes when its position changes with respect to the sun. Why does the illuminated portion of the moon seen from the earth decrease when it appears closer to the sun? Activity 11.2. Let us explore 1. Take a small soft ball and insert a stick into it. Fig. 11.4a. This represents the moon. Go to a dark open place at night and ask a teacher or guardian to shine a torchlight towards you from about 3 meters to represent light coming from the sun, or stand near an electric lamp. Your head represents the earth. 11.4a. Ball with stick. Now hold the ball at arm's length in one hand such that it is slightly above your head as shown in Fig. 11.4b. Keep the ball at position E towards the direction of the lamp. Does the portion of the ball facing you appear to be illuminated or not? Turn around slowly in the anti-clockwise direction with your arm outstretched as shown in Fig. 11.4b and keep looking at the ball. Does the shape of the illuminated portion change? Is the line separating the illuminated and non-illuminated portions of the ball curved? Was your observation similar to the changing shape of the illuminated portion of ball shown in Fig. 11.4c? The shape of the illuminated portion of the ball, as seen by you, changes depending on where the ball is with respect to the lamp. 11.4b. A student using a ball and stick to understand phases of moon. See the ball as seen by the student at different positions. When the ball is held opposite to the direction of the lamp, at A, you are facing the entire illuminated portion of the ball, just like the full moon day. On the other hand, when the ball is held towards the direction of the lamp, at E, you are facing the non-illuminated portion of the ball and cannot see the illuminated portion of the ball at all. This is similar to the new moon day. Notice how, in other cases, the line separating the illuminated and non-illuminated portions of the ball appears curved. Fig. 11.4c. Similar to the shape of the illuminated portion of the moon viewed from the earth on other days. Using our observations of activity 11.2, let us now try to understand the phases of moon. 11.5 shows the positions of the moon corresponding to the different positions of the ball in Fig. 11.4b. Also shown are the earth and the sun rays. As shown in Fig. 11.5a, the moon revolves once around the earth from position A to H and back to position A in about 1 month. The side of the moon that faces the sun is illuminated. The portion of the moon that faces the earth is marked by the orange dashed lines and arrows. The illuminated portion of only this part of the moon can be seen from the earth. At positions B and H, more than half of the illuminated portion, called the gibbous phase, can be seen. At positions D and F, less than half of the illuminated portion, called the crescent phase, can be seen. The change in the fraction of the illuminated portion of the moon seen from Earth causes phases of the moon. The phases that will be seen from the Earth at different positions of the moon are shown in Fig. 11.5b. From A to C to E, we see the waning phase, and from E to G and back to A, we see the waxing phase. Since the rotation period of the Earth of one day is much smaller compared to the revolution period of the Moon, which is nearly a month, on a given day, people on different parts of the Earth see nearly the same phase. As can be seen in Fig. 11.5a, on the new moon day, the moon appears closest to the sun and it appears farthest on the full moon day. Is this not what we also observed in activity 11.1? 11.5a, the moon at different positions in its orbit around the Earth. 11.5b, the corresponding phases of the moon as seen from the Earth. The sizes and the distances are not to scale in this figure. To adjust for this, solar calendars add an extra day every 4 years using the concept of a leap year. In the Gregorian calendar, if a year is divisible by 4, then an extra leap day is added. So in a leap year, February has 29 days, which keeps the calendar well synchronized with the seasons. A step further, the Earth takes slightly less time than 365 and a quarter day to go from one spring equinox to the next spring equinox. Adding a day every 4 years helps to synchronize with the seasons, but it actually adds a little too much over time. To fix this, leap years are skipped every 100 years, like in 1700, 1800, and 1900. But skipping all of them would make the calendar lag slightly behind. So every 400 years, a leap year is again added back, like in 1600 and 2000. These careful corrections keep the calendar closely matched with the seasons over long periods of time. A step further, as we learned earlier, seasons are caused by the Earth's revolution around the Sun and its movement from the spring equinox to winter equinox and back. The time between successive spring equinoxes is called the tropical year. Gregorian calendar is based upon tropical year. We have also learnt earlier that the stars that rise at sunset change throughout the year due to the Earth's revolution around the Sun. The time duration required for the same stars to rise again at sunset is called the sidereal year, and it can also be used to define a solar calendar. The sidereal year is longer than the tropical year by a mere 20 minutes, and so it takes a long time before the differences between the two calendars become noticeable. In modern times, astronomers use the sidereal year to keep track of the Earth's position in its orbit around the Sun. Our scientific heritage, for thousands of years, people, including those in India, have been observing the sky and developing calendars. People in ancient times did not know that Earth revolves around the Sun and lacked modern instruments. Yet through years of careful sky observations, they noticed patterns and cycles in natural events. Hence, they could determine that the length of the year was approximately 365 days, allowing them to create calendars. For example, careful observation reveals that the Sun does not always rise exactly in the east. In summer, it rises a little northward of east, and in winter a little southward of east. These extremes happen on the solstices, around 21st June and 21st December each year. The Sun's apparent northward movement from December to June is called Uttarayan, and its apparent southward movement from June to December is Dakshinayan. This cycle repeats every year and is closely linked to the changing seasons. The Taittiriya Sahit records it in the verse 6.5.3. Thus the sun moves southwards for 6 months and northwards for 6 months. In the past, the equinoxes and solstices were also tracked by identifying the stars that rose at sunset. Ancient Indian texts like the Surya Siddhant noted that the pattern of stars, Capricorn, called Makar in India, would be in the background of the sun around the winter solstice during those ancient times. Nine. Translation: from the moment of the sun's entrance into the constellation of Capricorn, 6 months make up its northward progress, Uttarayana, so likewise from the moment of entrance into the constellation of Cancer. 6 months are its southward progress, Dakshinayana. Over the years, different types of calendars have evolved based on specific needs. A number of these calendars are used in different parts of India to track time and celebrating festivals. Uttarayan from December to June. 1.2.3 lunisolar calendars. There is another kind of calendar which primarily uses the moon's phases for counting days and months but also make adjustments to stay in sync with the cycle of seasons. The 12 lunar months add up to 354 days and thus fall short by nearly 11 days compared to the solar year. Thus, every 2 to 3 years, the accumulated difference becomes close to a full month. Therefore, every few years, an extra month, called Adhika Masa or intercalary month, is added to the year in some calendars. This keeps the solar year and the lunar cycle in step. Such calendars are called lunisolar calendars. They combine elements from both the solar and the lunar calendars and are used in many parts of India. Ever heard of? You may have heard of the names or similar sounding names of the months in various Indian lunisolar calendars: Chaitra, Vaisakha, Jyeshtha, Ashadha, Shravana, Bhadrapada, Ashwin, Kartika, Margshirsha, or Agrahayan, Pausha, Magha, and Falguna. In some communities, the new month starts on the first day after the new moon and ends on the day of the new moon. Such calendars are called a month. In others, the start of the new month corresponds to the day after the full moon, and the month ends on the full moon. Such calendars are called permanent. 1.2.4 The Indian National Calendar. A national calendar by the Government of India is used along with Gregorian calendar for multiple official purposes. 11.9 Indian National Calendar. It is a solar calendar, Fig. 11.9, consisting of 365 days in a year. The year begins on 22nd March, which is the day after the spring equinox. Unlike the Gregorian calendar, months in the Indian national calendar have either 30 or 31 days. The names of these months were taken from traditional Indian calendars. In a regular year, the 2nd to 6th months have 31 days and the rest have 30 days. The leap years are matched to the Gregorian calendar by adding a day to Chaitra, the first month of the year. In such years, the new year begins on 21st March of the Gregorian calendar. Ever heard of? In 1952, the Government of India set up a Calendar Reform Committee (CRC) to examine all existing calendars which were being followed in the country at that time and to recommend an accurate and uniform calendar for the whole of India. The CRC recommended Unified National Calendar was adopted for use with effect from 21st March 1956 CE, that is, 1 Chaitra 1878 Saka. The Indian national calendar follows the general principles as that of the Surya Siddhant. Be a scientist, Meghnad Saha, 1893 to 1956. Meghnad Saha was a pioneering astrophysicist of India who studied stars and their temperatures and developed a mathematical equation, famously known as the Saha equation. The Saha Institute of Nuclear Physics in Kolkata is named after him. He was also the chairperson of the Calendar Reform Committee. 11.3 are festivals related to astronomical phenomena. Many Indian festivals are tied to the phases of the moon and hence are based on either lunar or lunisolar calendars. For instance, Diwali falls on the new moon of the month of Kartika, Holi on the full moon of Falguna, Buddha Purnima on the full moon of Vaisakha. Eid-ul-Fitr is celebrated after sighting the crescent moon at the end of the month of Ramzan, while Dashera is celebrated on the 10th day in the month of Ashwina. Hence, they occur on different dates in the Gregorian calendar in successive years. For festivals based on lunisolar calendars, the Gregorian calendar dates can shift, but this shift is typically less than a month. This is because the lunisolar calendars add the intercalary month every few years, which correct for the difference between the lunar and the solar year. In contrast, purely lunar calendars do not account for this difference. Any festival celebrated according to the phases of the moon, such as Eid-ul-Fitr, therefore can occur in different months of the Gregorian calendar year after year. Why do most Indian festivals fall on different dates every year? A step further, a few festivals in India, like Makar Sankranti, Pongal, Bihu, Vaisakhi, Poila Baishakh, and Puthandu, follow a solar sidereal calendar. These festivals happen on almost the same date every year in the Gregorian calendar, which is based on the tropical year. A long time ago, these festivals were tied to either a solstice or an equinox. Due to the small difference in the sidereal and tropical years, the dates of these festivals slowly shift away from the solstices, equinoxes. This shift is due to slow wobble of the Earth's axis, similar to the movement of the axis of a wobbling top. This causes the dates of festivals based on the sidereal calendar to move ahead in tropical calendar. For example, Makar Sankranti moves ahead by one day every 71 years. Ever heard of? The dates of many Indian festivals are based on the exact lunar phase at Sunrise. As Sunrise occurs earlier in eastern India and later in western India, these dates can also shift by a day between these regions even in the same year. To maintain uniformity throughout the country, the Positional Astronomy Centre of the Government of India annually publishes the Rashtriya Panchang, a detailed calculation of the positions of celestial objects, such as the moon and the sun, for a central location in India. Based on these calculations, it provides an advance intimation on dates of festivals to Government of India for holiday declaration. Ever heard of? The moon and moonlight have inspired ragas in Indian classical music. Chandrakons, Chandranandan, and Shubpantuvarali, which also means auspicious moon, are a few ragas that display the moon's imagery in their names and melodic expressions. Similarly, mudras, hand gestures. For example, Chandrakala and Ardhachandran relating to the moon can be found in Indian classical dance Bharatanatyam. The same is true for other dance forms, Kathak, Odissi, and Kuchipudi. Even the traditional painting styles, Madhubani, Varli, and other forms of art, such as sculpture and pottery among Sora, Gond, and other tribes invoke depictions of the moon and the sun prominently, implying their significance in daily life. Varli painting, 2. Dhokra brass sculpture. 11.4 Why do we launch artificial satellites in space? The moon is Earth's natural satellite, orbiting our planet. Besides the moon, man-made satellites sent by various countries also orbit the Earth. These artificial satellites appear as tiny specks moving in the night sky. Most orbit about 800 kilometers above Earth's surface and take roughly 100 minutes to complete one orbit. These satellites help us in many ways like communication, navigation, weather monitoring, disaster management, and scientific research. The Indian Space Research Organisation, ISRO, has launched many satellites that support these activities. When I look at the night sky in early evening, I see some moving stars. What are they? Is their motion also periodic? Our scientific heritage, the Cartosat series of satellites, launched by ISRO, capture high-quality images of the Earth to improve maps, plan cities, and handle natural disasters in India. One such mapping platform, Bhuvan, uses these images to show terrain, soil, land use, vegetation, and more. Astrosat, another ISRO mission, makes scientific observations of stars and other celestial objects. India's other space missions include Chandrayaan 1, 2, and 3 to the Moon, Aditya L1 to study the Sun, and Mangalyaan to Mars. ISRO also lets Indian students build and launch small satellites such as Azadi Sat, Inspire Sat 1, and Jugnu. Cartosat 2. Astrosat. Activity 11.4. Let us identify 1. Spotting an artificial satellite is a night sky watching activity like we have done previously. Just before sunrise or after sunset, go to a location, accompanied by an adult, that has a clear view of the sky without any obstruction of trees or tall buildings. To identify satellites in the sky, look for any moving object in the sky that appears as a point of light with steady or flickering brightness and is moving very fast across the sky. You can see them with the naked eye or with binoculars. You may use mobile apps or websites that provide details of satellites visible in your location and when they will be passing above you in the sky. A step further, a lot of artificial satellites are being sent up in space by many countries. After their useful life, many of them and their rocket parts become space junk or space debris. This debris crowds space and could collide with working satellites. While small debris burns up in the atmosphere when it falls towards the Earth, the larger pieces can crash on ground. Countries are now working together to remove this dangerous debris. Be a scientist. Vikram Ambalal Sarabhai, 1919, 1971, Vikram Sarabhai, a researcher in space science and nuclear physics, is known as the father of the Indian space program. He pioneered the effort to launch the first artificial satellites. The Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, VSSC, located in Thiruvananthapuram, the ISRO center that develops rockets and launch vehicle technology, is named after him. Thanks for watching.